yeah. Once again, it is on another Boom Bap morning right here on the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor and your host for the day, Kalanji Changa, and no other than Kamal K. Franklin. Let's go, y'all.
Wow, what's good? Remix
So
Morning
like
Show.
Tuesdays are now officially Renegade Culture Tuesdays on the
Renegade
Remix Show.
Culture Tuesdays.
Might as
You know what
well.
I'm saying? People may pop up in here, but you know, I think we dominating. We taking over. We taking over.
That's what happens around these parts.
The whole Black Power Network is being taken over.
BPN.
Tierney out here kicking her kids out the car again, you know.
She kicking them out the
That's
car.
true.
Okay.
That's true. Oh, they're just talking about you.
Trying to bomb on my sister, man.
Good things, right?
Nothing but positivity.
Only on the
Like,
Remix Morning Show.
kids. What you do with them kids?
Nothing but love here. What's
Yes.
good, everybody? What's popping?
Good. Everything's good.
I found out my headphones was jacked up the last couple of seconds, so I had to grab these. I feel like I'm in an echo chamber right now.
Your equipment is always jacked, B. I mean, it's nothing
Hey
new.
man, you know that Black Power Media money. You know how
True.
we do.
Speaking of, make sure y'all like, subscribe, join, help this guy get some new equipment. Patreon.com.
Help us stay here. That's the motto. Help us stay here.
Help the baby.
Yes. Anyway, it is Tuesday, October 26th, the year of our Lord. Cloud have mercy. The Remix Morning Show is back again. Make me want to tap dance, but I ain't no coon. Anyway,
More like Gregory Hines. But yo, check this out. I check y'all on the next break. Peace.
Okay.
It's
Doctor right here. It's good, brother. It's Three the Hard Way. What's good with y'all, man? Tierney, what's happening? They said you was kicking the children out the car early this morning. I know you had run, but you know.
Yeah, nothing new. Just the normal daycare run.
Okay. All right. Kamal looked like he just came from a B&E, got the sweatshirt on. What's happening with you, man? Or was that a sweater? I'm sorry. Pardon me.
That's a sweater, B. It's fall. It's fall in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
okay.
Sweaters, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know, I'm good, but I'm good. Everything is happening. Everything is as it is, as it should be, as we say, you know.
Yes.
I also had to kick the babies out the car, literally. You know what I mean?
Hey.
My youngest now like to take. He's a big boy. He's 6. So instead of letting the lady help him out the car, he's like, I can do it myself, which means that's an extra 15 minutes of like, well, you better get out this car. You better get out this car. You better get out this car. As he's slowly putting on his book bag. I'm like, son, I'm about to give you the foot.
Meticulous. He trying to make sure his stuff's in order, man. You know what I'm saying?
Like it's a high jump. It's like I give him a little push, you know.
That's messed up, man. Dude only so tall, the car so heavy, man. He literally getting pushed out, y'all, man. This is horrible. Pray for him.
Lessons learned.
Pray for Khaled.
Yes.
Anyway. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Shout out to all the remixes out there. Shout out to all those folks who've been supporting this platform. It's growing. It's growing slow, but it's growing. You know what I mean? So definitely.
Yeah, we're up to 12,000 on YouTube, over 5,000 on Twitter, almost like 2 Gs on Facebook. Instagram is growing. This is a growing platform. A media mention.
Okay.
What is it? The Daily, what's that?
The Daily Beast.
The Daily Beast.
You know all right. It's kind of, okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's growing. It's growing. It's here. That's an old Tyranny. That's an old song. You won't know that one.
No, I don't.
He's like, I'm not interested in knowing it. It just sounds so.
I like old school.
Oh yeah, I mean, Tyranny, that's not old school. That's
like old school, not pioneer shit. Not like not like that Clearing the Forest hip hop that you guys know and shit like
no doubt. Shout out to May, the producer. She back in the building. She said we need those CNN view counts. CNN's going down. They haven't hit 1 million views. They said the first week of October was the first time they haven't hit 1 million views in decades. I'm like, wow, we have something in common. But anyway.
On TV or just on social media?
That's a very good question. I think they meant TV. I don't know how they do it. You know what I'm saying? They always line with the Nielsen ratings anyway, so we know how that go. Shout out to Val Bames 2001 for becoming a YouTube member. We'll always love Val Bames. Anyway, we appreciate you joining this crew of the Nutties. Yes, Franny French. The Daily Beast did mention BPM as a media force. I appreciate that. He said we stand alone, and they talked about how we don't have any corporate sponsors and we get all of our resources through Patreon. Clearly, they didn't look at our Patreon numbers, or they would have been like, "Them cats ain't funded at all." But shout out to the Patreons out there.
Coming out of pocket.
No doubt, man. Listen, and they talking about taking. Hey, listen, man. I don't want to talk about our personal business, our business, but they talking about taking a pay cut out of our own pockets that we already have that have nothing to do with BPM. You know that's serious. They like, look, man.
But I do like the fact that they pointed out our politics were anti-capitalist. I think they mentioned Nkrumah and some other folks saying we're pan-Africanism on the left.
Yes.
Then they mentioned the other station that's owned by the dude that owns a football team who's not black, as a black station, and kind of like they're middle of the road, and it's like it's a peek into black life. I was like, all right, and then they kind of dissed some of the guests, which I liked. It was like they had like a sexual predator guest and this guest. I was like, all right, my man, whoever wrote that article, I got you.
Yeah. You're talking about the other crew, not us now. We clarify.
Yeah, that was the other crew.
Yeah. I'm just saying, some people might be tuning in late. They're like, oh, they happy about that? You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely shout out to.
I like the fact that he recognized that there's something over here of value that you're not going to get no place else when it comes to perspective, analysis, and news.
No doubt.
That's my commercial for the day, baby.
That's it. Those are shameless self-promotion for the day. Anyway, it's a lot going on in the world today. Some things I don't want to talk about because we know there's certain shit, that takes over the whole entire show. You say certain things like Dave Chappelle, that everything goes ballistic and bananas and all that. So we ain't gonna talk about that today.
Whoa, wait a minute. We're not going to talk about it because it might be really interesting. So let's say for anything controversial.
Anything controversial. We won't have any news today.
In fact, let's turn into the other network and not deal with anything of consequence.
Hey, look here, man. It was good while it lasted. Anyway, definitely support support the channel, support the platform, support these Africans out in the street that are organizing, because that is, that's of the utmost importance. We don't get enough information on what's going on in the streets. Speaking of that, shout out to our brother who we'll be talking about. One of our OGs has just been released on a compassionate release. Our brother Russell Maroon Schultz. We'll be getting a little bit into that a little bit later on. And it's a lot going on, period, in politics across the whole globe. And you are at the right place today. What other morning show can you go to? This is dope. We'll wait. Tell us, please. Exactly. That's what we talking about. Anyway, what else is going on, good folks? How was your weekend, Kamal? Did you go skiing in the Aspen, or what happened, brother? What's happening?
Skiing in the Aspens. That's in Colorado, right? I don't even know what the fucking Aspens.
Man.
I've never been on skis.
You never been on skis, man?
I've never even been on skis.
What kind of New Yorker are you?
Except for throwing snowballs. That was the only New York sport only cold weather sport I engaged in.
Okay, come on.
I'm in the house, B. I'm in the house.
You from the projects? You at least had the cardboard that you slide down on the.
Yeah, we did that.
Is that the
equivalent? My bad. Okay,
that's skiing.
I've gone skiing then I've definitely gone skiing.
Wouldn't that be like sledding now? Like,
you said what?
Wouldn't that be more of sledding?
Sledding. Well, sledding if you're sitting on it, but if you're standing on it, and you got two pieces of cardboard. Come on, Tierney, stop trying to check me on the RemiX board.
All right, sorry.
No. Tierney, you do need to check them because he ain't never had no two pieces of cardboard to buy.
I'm like,
I just a big cardboard. And then before you jump on, go down the hill and fall and bust your ass.
Listen,
that's what happens.
See, my project was across the street from a highway, and it had a big ass hill. You know what I mean? So we played like on the hill, the little mountain part, as the cars are going by and shit. You know what I mean? So when it snows, we'll just slide down on the joint. Now, it wasn't too smart because every now and then, you run into something. And there was one point I almost got Sonny Bono'd. You know what I'm saying? For those of you old enough to know about Sonny Bono, he ran into a tree while he was skiing in California. First of all, how and why would you be skiing in California? But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, Don't ask me how we got on that
mountains in
topic.
California, B.
Say it again.
There's the mountains in California. It's cold.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, that's a hell of a way to go from skiing in California.
Did he die from the skiing?
Yeah, he hit a tree.
Oh, I didn't know he died from the skiing. No.
Yeah,
You have to look at the poor, and you know, again, this is all for tyranny. Sonny Bono was married to Cher.
Yes.
Cher, who was in the 70s, was the Kim Kardashian of her era.
I could see that she was the Kim Kardashian that era. I don't know why, but I mean, I don't even know why Kim Kardashian is the Kim Kardashian of this era. But that's just, you know, it's white America, so we go along with it. But yeah, nah. So they actually had a variety show. They had the Sonny and Cher show back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, actually, I've heard of that. Yes.
I mean,
didn't they sing together?
They did. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard their songs.
Tinny's catching up now. All right.
I got you, babe.
I didn't know he died from skiing. Now I didn't know that.
I got you, babe.
He hit a tree. So and he was a politician out in California as well. What was he? A congressman?
He was a mayor of a small city.
Yes, mayor. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that's too much Sonny and Cher talk. Let's move on.
Too much.
No one cares.
Hey, no one cares about Cher.
That's how we get labeled boomers and shit like that.
How we get labeled boomers.
Yeah, we start doing Sonny and Cher conversation. People are like, what
Tinny did try to smash on this last time.
Trying to keep up.
You trying to keep up? Hey, the school you go along.
This is one of those things where, you know, learning history does you no good whatsoever. So
does you no good at all. Now, for those of you who are checking us out, and this is your first time coming to Black Power Media or coming to the Remix Morning Show, I know you probably like, what in the hell they talking about Sonny and Cher for? Because we just waking up, man. So that's just what we do around here. But anyway, we got some hardcore news we're going to be talking about today. We're definitely going to touch on what's going on in Atlanta because of the fact that we have a former piece of shit mayor who's running again. So we definitely have to talk about him in that conundrum. What else is going on in the world today? Help me out here. What else we got going on? Anything? Nothing? Okay. All right. Well, we don't have nothing else going on. But we're going to be talking about a whole lot of shit. We just here. Anyway, we're going to bring the ear doctor on right about now. You know it's bad we bring the ear doctor on. So
Hey, Tierney, don't feel no type of way. Their memories are in black and white.
Oh, okay.
Wow. I wish that sweatsuit was in black and white. That shit bright as hell.
Knock off.
Okay. Look like a pack of ketchup.
I gotta remember my name, man. So
what's your name?
I always label my clothes. Be like, oh, that's mine.
You know, that you could tell a cat that used to get his clothes took all the time. They were snatching his clothes off the clothesline. So he keep putting his name on his shirt. Ear doctor on the front, knock on the back. That's bananas.
All right. Well, it's weather report time. So let's go ahead and get to it. You know how we do at this time. Let's do it.
Bring it.
What up, people? How y'all doing today? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and it's the weather report. Whether you know it or not, yo, it's the weather report. All right. So, once again, make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe, tell a friend that it is on again right here at Black Power Media, and go to patreon.com, drop something in the bucket, which I do every day. I'll make sure y'all know that. And also, let me give y'all the weather. So it's fall. As you can see behind me, it's fall. It's damn near winter in some places. So let's start off first in Boston, Massachusetts, where they say ka and they say fa and stuff like that. Boston, Massachusetts, they got a high today of 60 degrees, only 60. So you know it's getting cold up there. Matter of fact, I just talked to my boy from Jersey City. Says like 40 degrees the other day. I was like, damn. Anyway, let's take it to New Orleans, Louisiana, where they got a high today of 82 degrees. Yeah, baby. That's right, New Orleans. Now, let's take it over to St. Lucius in the islands. Big up to my people who just flew over there, got a little vacation going on. They got a high today of 87 degrees. Big up to St. Lucius. Now, let's take it all the way over to Somalia. That's right. Bandero, Somalia. High today of 97 degrees. 97 degrees, mad hot. Now let's take it over to Turkey. let me get this word right. Erzurum, Turkey. They got a high today of 40 degrees. Now, 40 degrees ain't that hot. Matter of fact, it's kind of cold. Colder than a white man. Matter of fact, colder than a black man. What black man I'm thinking about that's that cold? No other than my boy right here, George Jefferson. Let me tell you about George Jefferson, man. This dude was a cold guy, man. He came from his family was sharecroppers in Alabama, moved up to Harlem, made his way, took his wife Wheezy, and they opened up 7 dry cleaners in Manhattan. Now, back in the day, you know you had to be making some money. You got 7 dry cleaners in Manhattan, Harlem, and all around New York. This dude was doing it big. He was first to put out words like jive turkey, honky, all types of stuff. And the man was like, yo, I'm going to do my thing, move up to the east side. And that's what he did. He was a cold dude. He did his thing, found religion, and then he made his way to amen. So that's what it is. That's a cold dude right there. Check out the Jeffersons. All right. So now let's get back to the weather report. You know how we do right here on the morning show. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the weather report.
You said let's get back to the weather report.
Huh?
Hey, George Jefferson was a bad dude, man. You know, from beginning when he was stepped on scene with Archie Bunker and was like, yo, man, this is my thing. I'm running it. He took it. He did his thing.
I like how you said he went from sharecropper to getting religion.
And big up to Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley.
Definitely shout out to little Sherman Hemsley.
Did you ever watch The Jeffersons, Tyranny? Are you on mute?
You muted.
You're on mute.
She purposely muted it this time. She's like,
I have, but honestly, not enough to remember a storyline.
Okay, well, that's cool. I mean,
I like Fresh Prince, you know.
Oh, that's so cute.
One of the top 10 is the Jeffersons like one of the top 5 greatest sitcoms of all time.
Black sitcoms, yeah. Definitely.
All sitcom. Black is greatest of all. There's no black. It's like
facts. You got it. You got it.
Yo, shout out to the Jeffersons though. It's good to hear honky on the joint or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to all the honkies out there that rock with us. Keep honking. They said that
I can't with this dude. Yo, I'm out. I'll catch y'all next break.
Yes. Anyway, Remix Morning Show early in the morning where you could tune in 20 minutes in or less and hear us talking about honkies. Let's go to the news. That's how I Yes, Remix Morning Show's in the building. We back again. I think we're going to start off with some news from Tyranny because we've been doing most of the talking, and Tyranny need to bring us back to reality. Please, Tyranny, help us stay here.
All right, I'm actually going to try to share my screen this time. Although I don't like sharing my screen because sometimes I show too much by accident. But no, like I have too many tabs on my screen. It's embarrassing.
Oh, I was left up your Pornhub.
But so Sudan had a coup, and the military has dissolved the civilian government and arrest. It's just been reported that the coup leader, his name's General Abdel Fattah Burhan, and he blamed political infighting. It says protests have erupted in several cities, including the capital, Khartoum. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing these things wrong. 3 people are said to have died after being shot by armed forces, and military and civilian leaders have been at odds for a long time. And so, this is just another coup. I mean, it's interesting to see how many times repeatedly we're seeing different coups happen throughout the African continent, and a lot of people are wondering, you know, if these things are being sponsored by the West or if these things are because of intrinsic issues with Africa as it has decolonized. I would probably have that view of the issue, that a lot of the times that the institutions that we created post-colonization were never created to be a stable mechanism for African people. And so the coups are, in my opinion, are just going to keep happening and exacerbating, particularly as the West is at odds with itself and unable to properly keep control of the African continent. I think we're going to see a lot of these different uprisings. So if I'm not mistaken, this civilian-led government inside of Sudan is pretty recent. And so it's interesting to see that even strives for people want a democratic country, those things are quickly undone because of the internal conflicts that happen with African people. So it's a story I felt like was important to highlight.
I think part of the issue, and I think you're right, like it was an autocratic ruler for like 30 years. And then there was supposed to be some power sharing, and there was a pro-democracy movement. But folks didn't obviously some folks didn't want that democracy to take place. And part of this, in addition to the West, I think is even the internal contradictions of how some power is, let's say the vacuum of power, right? It's not like it's not like this, even this so-called democracy movement, it's not like it came to power through a revolutionary movement. So its ability to control the different institutions, the military was still standing. All the other institutions were still standing, that were sort of led under the autocratic rule. And so it's quite easy for them to come back when they say, hey, things might be going too far. We might be losing too much power. And then again, you never know what, who's behind, what the velvet glove is happening behind the scenes. So,
which is why I feel personally, and people might not like this, but I'm really not a fan of democracy in Africa. And I understand that historically African governments were representative of the people, but I think the automatic assumption that democracy is going to bring about freedom, I just think historically and today we see repeatedly that that's just not the case. To me, if anything, particularly the Western concept of representative governments being democracy is just a form of government that's easy to control for outsiders. It's very easy to, if corporate funding is how we're going to, or just funding by abstract people is how we're going to have people put in a position to where they're the leaders of a movement, then it's very easy for people to go inside and just, hey, I'm gonna give you $2 million, just, get in the government and do what I want you to do. So I think repeatedly we see like it has not worked for Africa to just adopt this system of governance of democracy as the de facto best way of governing our affairs.
I'm sorry. I was going to add on quickly, and I think it depends on how the definition of democracy, and again, how those institutions come into play. Because if you have a democracy like you're alluding to that still has a strong capitalist economy with and a military that's used to ruling, then what you have is figureheads, people who they have like fake elections and rig the vote, but really the military is behind the scenes still controlling things as an apparatus. And if they think anybody is giving too much sort of, let's say, freedom or whatever we want to call it, then that military will react, particularly if they think it's about to turn on them or someone's about to try to hold them accountable for their particular crimes. So I think a lot of this is due to Western imperialism and dollarism, as Malcolm used to say, that still exists to this day. And I also think there's the internal contradictions of the society, which again, if the capitalist model of development is not swept away, then those elites, both economic elites and then your military elites, will always hustle in the background to keep real control over what governments do and how they operate and what resources get distributed and which way they do.
Yeah, this is definitely, I won't even call it an interesting story because of the fact that we know it's the way of the West, for lack of better words. And I think that one of the issues that at hand is we see this playing out, like, I mean, almost daily. It's like it's the norm, and we know that, and we always ask the question, what is the role of the U.S. in it? We know that if there's any minerals, We know that if there's any positions that will strategically benefit them, then you can pretty much bet your last dollar that they're somewhere lurking in the wings. Um, I have I just did an interview a couple of days ago. Most of you know, with Patrice Lumumba's daughter Juliana. Shout out to her. I have another interview coming up with a a a child of an assassinated leader out there on the continent. Someone that's pretty popular as well. I'm gonna hold that until it's done. But my point is, it's the same song over and over and over again. You just change the names and change the dates, and the story's written. It's almost identical. I mean, if these the stories of the attacks of the of Africa, the salt of Africa, salt on Africa by the West was an actual book, then someone would be accused of plagiarism because it's the same shit, the same tactic, the same, you know what I mean? And it's like, why can't or why won't we see it? It's the whole psychological war ran so damn deep that we refuse to recognize. It's like you see how this thing's going to turn out. You see how it's going to play out. You see that, like you said, if you have democratically elected officials, then they're going to sell out. You know what I mean? You had folks like Patrice Lumumba, who was quote unquote legally elected. That was really brought about, who came to power through the people. And that's one of the things that we lack in politics, particularly in American politics, because of the fact that, they give you these choices that are really not choices that will benefit you. And we get behind these particular choices. You say, okay, well, let's vote for this person because this person is the lesser of two evils. When in reality, you wouldn't have voted for either one of them if they were presented on a platter. You would have denied, both. You'd have been like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. But it's like, let's say, do you want dog shit, or would you like dog feces? It's the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Just change the name. Canine feces or dog shit. You know what I mean? Like, well, our dog shit smells like this. So my point with this whole thing about the continent, man, I'm really hoping that the organizers here in the States can form a deeper alliance and united front with some of these leaders, because many of them, of course, were educated right here in the States. When you talk about folks like Nkrumah, they went to school right here in Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? And so many others. But unfortunately, that disconnect, and many of our people have tried. You had the Dr. Clarks and the Malcolms and so on and so forth, who and the Kwame Torres, who actually went out there on the ground. But unfortunately, it seems like that's like lost these days. Or you get some of these folks who are quote unquote representing our community here. They go over there and they meet up with the sellouts. They meet up with the folks who are, on the wrong side of history. So, I don't know.
Yeah. And I love that point that we have to forge stronger alliances. Because if you think about like we're talking about how Western democracy is pushed as like, oh, this is what you want. There are so many well-funded interest groups that are supported by the same capitalist system that is, controlling all of our destinies, that go into Africa, and they're basically flooding the information wave so that it's like, what other alternatives are you given? It's funny. I was talking to someone in my organization, and we were talking about how how censorship is like so unique in Africa, because something simple like JFK's assassination, us in America, we could like Google that on YouTube and look it up. And my one friend, he's in Kenya, he told someone like, hey, look it up on YouTube, JFK was assassinated. they could not find it from Kenya. So it just shows you how controlled. And I did do a video recently on my channel, African Esquire TV on YouTube, if anyone wants to go check me out. But I did do a video about how the internet is controlled by Mark Zuckerberg in Africa, how it's basically like a monopoly. And so we're kind of in a point where, if not for us people who at least do have access to certain things, make an intentional effort to information share, then for a lot of our people, all of these well-funded NGOs go into Africa and they're pumping information constantly and showing people this is what revolution is, even though that's really not what it is.
Yeah, I'd say two quick things on it is one, people, we obviously, I don't think people forget, but when there was revolutions, there were counter revolutions, right? The West didn't just give up, right? The West lost direct control of certain like colonies in Africa and Latin America and so forth. But again, it doesn't mean that they didn't strive to stay in control or get control back by assassination, by payoffs, by ruining economies, as they did in Cuba and as they did in other places. So it wasn't like the West went away. What they did was try to find other means to make us believe that because they weren't overtly directly controlling the government, they weren't subversively controlling it. And then when they thought it was time for them to directly control it, then they would stage coups and so forth. So that's one thing, is that we're our enemies, we're constantly battling. I think the second thing around the censorship thing is important, because when I think of Western democracy, for me, I think of it as somewhat of a floor, right? I do want there to be some free flow of information, obviously. I want there to be things that the government cannot necessarily do. I'm not saying Western democracy does that completely successfully, but obviously there's more openings here than there are in some other places because of how this system works. And so I think, when you think about human rights, there's things that the government should not do, but there's also economic and social rights that talks about things that the government should do. And those are usually the things that the Western nations in particular are heavily opposed to, because with the things that they can't do, they find ways to do them anyway, right? Or they give you, you get so much you have access to information, but you get overloaded with so much entertainment information that's what you spend your time thinking about and doing and wanting to be like. So they can maneuver through propaganda mechanisms to direct your flow of what you think the world should look like or be like, or your role in it, without necessarily denying you access to simple information about coups and so forth, right? And the killing of presidents. I think because some of the other places in the world who have control have not developed their sophisticated propaganda schemes yet. They rely more on brute force. They rely more on, we're going to have these steady coups because we can get away with them, because there's nothing that's going to stop it. There's no quote unquote civil society that's strong enough to stop it, and there's no revolutionary movement that can put us down for doing this kind of stuff. So it's a constant battle, a constant struggle and fight. And we got to figure it out, like with connections to both things happening in Latin America and Africa and Asia. We got to continue to figure that out.
And I think along with what you were saying with the information sharing, we have to really focus and concentrate on system building, because I think that part of the issue we don't lack information here in the United States. It doesn't matter how much information you get. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you all the damn information you want. They'll probably give you the damn codes to the nuclear, armory. It don't matter, because of the fact that, the level of organization we have is limited. And I think that, unfortunately, organizers in the United States would rather look good than be good. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer about what type of programs and systems you have. What is the illusion of what it is you have? I am a leader, so follow me. I am this, so support that. You know what I'm saying? And instead of us focusing on less YouTube hits and more actual physical victories, for lack of better words. You know what I mean? We're confused. We're caught up. It's like the rap game and shit. You know what I'm saying? Look what we doing. We still slaves on the plantation, but we look like we making moves. We look like we're making strides. But until we develop systems that are that start locally, because of the fact that we could do things block by block, just a basic communication apparatus on your block. You understand what I'm saying? How do you communicate with the people on your block? If there is an emergency situation, if shit is being shut down, if you're in Pittsburgh or the West End or Buckhead or wherever the hell, you know what I'm saying? Bankhead rather. You know what I mean? How do we get down? If we say, boom, don't call the police, these are the solutions that we have. This is the system that we have to make this thing work. And it's not a new thing because of the fact that these are things that Deacons of Self-Defense and RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement, and a number of other different formations they've already done in the 60s, and they had less quote-unquote technology. They had less quote-unquote equipment. But unfortunately, the more technology we get and the more more savvy we get with this technology, we become more ignorant. You know what I'm saying? You know, our brains, you know, cease to work because of the fact that now we got to figure out this program. But when they shut that shit down, now you assed out. It's like a lot of, growing up in the streets. I saw a whole lot of tough guys on the streets. They was real tough with the gun. But then when they get locked up, there's no gun. You didn't get your fight game up. You understand what I'm saying? You didn't develop a cadre. You didn't have any friends to deal with. And that's how it is here with us in the States. So we look at the continent, and we must remember that we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. So as fucked up as it is on the continent, that's how fucked up it's going to be in our hoods. That's how we are in community organizing. We're in the city of Atlanta right now, and we have like easily a couple hundred organizations. You know what I'm saying? Civil rights, human rights, the whole thing. But the organization as a whole, it's like, okay, I got 2 members, you got 3 members, and we're fighting about that shit. And it's just crazy. So hopefully we can begin to develop some systems, and we'll advance a little bit further. My thoughts. Anyway, moving right along. What else we have on the plate today? Speaking of local politics, we have this mayor. Those of you who are not in Atlanta, we had a mayor a few years ago by the name of Gangsta Reed. His name's Kasim Reed. I refer to him as Gangsta Reed because of the fact that all his actions and his whole movement is like gangster AF, as they say. It's just gangster as fuck. He doesn't give a damn. He'll argue with whoever, so on and so forth. So he's beefing right now. I know that the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP put out a statement, advising people not to reelect this dude for a second term. Now he stepped out of the way because of the fact that we have this mayor by the name of Keisha Lance Bottoms, you know what I'm saying, who basically helped to calm the natives down by bringing in more police. You know what I'm saying? And she was a part of his particular what do you call it? His crew. What do you call it? Kamal? His team.
He backed her for mayor when he stepped away because he was under the threat of indictment. And many folks said he stepped away waiting to see what was going to happen, whether or not he was going to be indicted or not. And he fully backed him. Kasim has been a power broker behind the scenes in Atlanta for probably up to 30 years. He was Shirley Franklin's campaign manager. He later ran and won 2 terms. And then you're right, then he stepped down. And then Keisha Lance Bottoms, again, he fully backed her. And then, again, the suspicion is once he figured out he was not going to get indicted, he gave Keisha a little call. Yeah, he gave Keisha a little call, like, look, girl, I need that seat back. It's time for you to sit it down, because it's not necessarily unprecedented, but it's weird, right? That a sitting mayor who hasn't had she's had obviously issues and so forth, but that she just relinquished running again for mayor without a huge scandal, let's say, that would have prohibited her from winning again. She was clearly a bourgeois mayor who potentially had an avenue to win again, and she stepped down, right, in the face of Reed saying that he was going to run again. And so, like you said, Because of the machine that Reed has, there's a potential that he may win again, in spite of his pro-gentrification stance, pro-police stance, pro-big development, pro-corporate stance. All those things notwithstanding, he has the machine that may allow him to win again.
And I don't know if this is detail. Is he black?
Oh yeah,
he's black,
yeah.
blacker than my shirt. I'm joking, he ain't that dark, but yeah. So I mean, she was actually part of his cabinet. That's what I was what I was saying a little earlier.
I think she was a city council member, at least when she was running for mayor the last time.
She was. And
yeah.
I mean, the thing about now, as I was saying, the president of the local chapter of the NAACP, Richard Rose, put out this scathing letter, you know, telling folks why they shouldn't vote for him. And there was another video I posted up a couple of days ago of an elder sister who talked about how he promised her that her and her husband, that they wouldn't be, you know, that they can stay in their house and they wouldn't be removed, or, you know, but he came through with the whole eminent domain process, and she was, you know, they were left homeless. But my point was, Richard Rose, the local president of the NAACP, took a brave and bold stance by denouncing this punk, right? And what happened was the national directors of the NAACP, they, you know, returned fire and saying he was out of line and out of order, and, you know what I'm saying, and it was wrong, and so on and so forth. So of course Kasim used that weapon as a tool against the local president. I like to go on record and say, you know what I mean, although I'm not a fan of the NAACP, I commend Richard Rose and the local chapter of the Atlanta NAACP for taking that stance. And as per usual, the national chapter dropped the ball and didn't back their guys. So fuck the NAACP on the national level. I like to say that. So, you know what I mean? So put that in your papers, get mad. We don't care. You can't, you know, we all know here in Atlanta, you know what I mean, the people who have been affected by Kasim Reed, the people who were impacted during the whole situation with the Occupy Atlanta piece, where he was vamping on these young folks in the park and, you know, having folks arrested and getting their heads busted, so on and so forth. All the gentrification, selling out the city, you know what I mean? Being backed by the International Brotherhood of Police just last week, you know what I mean? So we know that, like Kamal said, he's pro-cop. You know what I mean? The police love him, the state loves him, but the people don't love him. You know what I mean? But at the same time, being a quote unquote powerful businessman, he walks around arrogantly as if, you know, the city is his. Like he's the, you know, I'm the CEO of Atlanta. You know what I mean? And basically, I don't care what you're talking about. You know, so you know, again, I'm not endorsing any candidate, and I don't think we are at this particular point. I can't speak for anyone, but you know, I'm saying that definitely we got to stop this clown from coming up in here again. To me, it's like the re-election of Trump.
In fact, on that note, you have, it is actually a burgeoning anybody but Kasim movement here in Atlanta, where folks who don't normally work with each other, grassroots organizations, electoral organizations, civic engagement organizations, are slowly but surely sort of coming together to say, you know, it's not, and like you say, it's not so much that we endorse any of the candidates, but Kasim Reed has a particular history here that is, like you said, very detrimental to working class and poor Black folks and working class folks in general. And to re-elect him based on knowing what his record has been is tantamount of like the biggest ignorance that we can really portray. But again, he has a machine. And then secondly, I mean, you're completely right on the NAACP. You have people like Derek Johnson, who used to be the head of the Mississippi NAACP, is now the national president. And what these guys do, or what these folks do continually, is they want to challenge people at the state level because they're Republicans. They want to challenge at the federal level because they're Republicans. But when it's the city government, which is usually controlled by so-called liberals and Black politicians, they want to give those folks a pass. So no matter what their policies are, what detriment they cause to their constituents, who are usually, again, either mostly Black or a good portion of those folks who live here are Black, working class people who get pushed out of the city, who don't have access to the resources. There's no affordable housing. There are folks who are arrested at higher rates. These folks shut the hell up, and they go about acting like all of our problems are because of these Republicans, as opposed to the Democrats who march to the same drummer of the corporate interest and the economic elites who tell them what to do. And then these basically stooges of power say, no, let's not focus on what's happening locally with the people who directly impact you. We have the resources that directly impact you because they either look like us or because they're in the Democratic Party. We're only going to do these shows for folks through focusing on the Republican Party at the state and the federal level.
Can I ask a question? So, the narrative obviously of Atlanta is a Black Mecca, and one that a lot of people, I think, kind of pretend that it would be like the embodiment of what Malcolm X articulated as Black nationalism. Where's the breakdown as far as control of the politicians by the actual African people? I mean, since there's so many, we're told Black business is what we need or whatever. I know this platform doesn't take that position, but where is the breakdown between all of the businesses and the actual political engagement where these people are being controlled by outsiders instead of being controlled by people on the ground?
I would say I would say that these elected officials, for the most part, again, their ideology, Black or white, is pro-capitalist, pro-development, pro-big corporations. And so that's the side that they're on. Probably not since Maynard Jackson have we had a Black elected official here in Atlanta who even strived to do something to include working class and poor people in terms of sort of a democratic apparatus, right? And what I mean by what some of the things that Maynard Jackson did was creating a neighborhood association system that had some power, right? Not enough, but some power. Since that time period, for the most part, that structure has been gutted, and again, co-opted. And again, since that time, what you've had is these elected officials who brought in big development, i.e., the Olympics, what's the walking trail called again here?
Beltline.
The Beltline. So these developments that lead to gentrification, that lead to big condos. They've knocked down all the public housing. They have not built back affordable housing. Again, they've actually paid homeless people to leave Atlanta and never come back. So these folks are not. So these folks are captured.
Or arrested them.
Or arrested them. So these folks are not just captured; they're a part of the elite system. But they lead us to believe, they lead too many people to believe that because they're Black, they have our interest at heart. And again, because that's the playing field that we've been on. If they look like us, then they have our interest at heart. Then that's not what the case has been. And these folks have the interests of elite politicians, elite economic interests. And again, the folks who have these Black businesses, I'm not going to say everybody, but too many are only interested in access. They're only, again, interested in representation and access and their individual ability to make profits, but they're not interested in a larger community. They're not interested in wealth being shared or creating systems like cooperatives or alternatives that share wealth. They're not interested in city dollars going to make sure that there's affordable housing and that people are homed or job security and all that kind of stuff, or income security, or even health, even with health issues. None of that stuff they're really interested in. All that they're interested in is whether or not they can get some piece, some government, some piece of the government pie, right? Whether or not they can get some resources, the same way the larger white capitalists play the game. They played on a smaller level, but they still try to play the game also.
Right. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about the continent. You know what I'm saying? So think Mobutu, think Shambe. You know what I'm saying? You could be Black as midnight. You know what I'm saying? But as Imam Jamil, formerly H. Rap Brown, would say, to be Black is necessary, but it ain't sufficient. You know what I'm saying? If you Black, but you controlled by white folks and the white elite and Black aspiring capitalists, then you're going to get what Atlanta has. You know, Atlanta's the folks always talk about Atlanta as being a Black Mecca. We got to remember that Mecca's a desert. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is, it's like, it looks good in theory. It looks good on paper. The pictures look great. I mean, honestly, you know, with the amount of corruption and the police state that we live under here, it is only when I venture outside of Atlanta, I go to other cities, and I realize how black Atlanta is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh man, man, and that's the beautiful part, that you have so much blackness. But what good is it to have a black country or a black city or a black continent if it's ran by other people? We die and suffer equally. You know what I'm saying? We are tortured together. You know what I'm saying? So again, once we build a system which goes beyond just a quote unquote united front, because the united front doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know what I'm saying? You have the United Nations to prove that. You know what I mean? It sounds good in theory, but if it's not put into practice properly, then it's you end up with toothless tigers or paper tigers, and that's what's going on here in Atlanta. If you're not serving the interests of upper class Africans in Atlanta, then the chances and the likelihood of you being the mayor of Atlanta are slim to none.
And I would add quickly, because people are bringing up some people that have described themselves and have a history of being, let's say, progressive or radical, who are mirrors of Newark and Jackson. And the problem still consists of, one, there's no base of support underneath them large enough to move them, even if they claim to have certain politics. And two, once those folks get into office, they too lose their edge. They have lost their edge. They are just as liberal as any liberal Democrat in any other city. And these are people who I know personally, right? So I'm not trying to talk about people who I know these people personally. I've organized with these people both in Newark and in Jackson, Mississippi. They have left any revolutionary spirit that they claim to enter the office with. They still use the rhetoric of radicalism, but they use it for liberal purposes, right? And so you don't have any. You can look at those cities and you can ask me if you can see a movement from the government offices that is somehow more left or radical than anything else that you have, right? They're no different than the de Blasio in New York. That's their politics, right?
Correct.
They deal with the right-wing administrations of their state, and or in Newark, a liberal Democratic governor, the same way that de Blasio deals, the same way that the mayor in Atlanta deals, the same way that the San Francisco. It's all bargain. There's no rhetoric coming out from these folks that is any different from any action, I should say, any action coming out from these folks that is any different than any liberal mayor that we've had in any city. These people have decided, whether purposely or not, whether brought off or not, whether what they're thinking is or not, they've somehow sided with slow progression as they think they're doing, as opposed to some radical break with the system, right? So these offices have co-opted them as opposed to them co-opting the offices.
Right, and that right there come out, like you said whether it's on purpose or not, we have to keep in mind, like, yo, look, what's wrong with us? Do you really think that you getting your black ass up inside of the system that they designed and perfected for a couple centuries and you're going to change anything? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hopping on a treadmill and it's Jesse Owens on a treadmill. We going nowhere fast. You know what I mean? It sounds good in theory, but this system is not designed for that. You know what I'm saying?
And it's got to be connected to a base. It's got to be connected to a struggle on the ground, because otherwise those folks get lost, right?
Absolutely.
And again, I give them some credit to say that they had certain politics going into the office. If the base is not pulling these folks left, but again, the base is only siding to protect them. It's like, oh, the Republicans at the state level is saying something bad about our mayor. Let's rally against our mayor, right?
Right.
I mean, let's rally for our mayor. It's never, hey, mayor, this is the list of demands. You're a radical. You're supposed to be a radical like we're a radical. Here's the list of demands that you need to be held accountable for. And that's why we supported you in the first place. This is what has to happen during this mayorship. You got to go against the system. If the system at the Republican level or the state level is trying to stop you, then not only you got to tell us why it's trying to stop you, you got to be out in the streets getting arrested with the rest of us. In terms of changing that system, right? You can't just sit behind it. You can't just go into the offices of power and negotiate away everything and then come back and tell us to shut the hell up and accept what we got, right? Because that, again, that's any old liberal mayor. You ain't nothing special if you're doing that. I don't need you in office. I just need to keep everything out in the street then.
Hey man, whether it's Barack or Biden, the bomb's still dropping. Anyway, we're gonna take it to the ear doctor real quick. Tierney, tell the people how they can check out your show when you're not on Black Power Media.
You can check out African Esquire TV on YouTube, and on there I cover different topics about the Pan-African world, and also on Saturdays we do our morning podcast and book club for WCC.
No doubt. We appreciate you as always. Ear doctor in the building. What up?
Yeah. Yo, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna give y'all a flashback for the weekend. I actually got to do a bar mitzvah this weekend. I got to DJ that. Yeah, I do everything. But let's go ahead and talk about this weekend. What shows y'all possibly missed? Before it come out, say something crazy. I already see it.
RemiX Morning Show.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? This is the RemiX Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And like I said, I had a pretty good weekend. Got the DJ, got to chill out with the youth, and it was a good weekend. But if you wasn't doing what I was doing, then you probably wasn't, or if you were, you was checking out BPM. We had some pretty dope shows this weekend. So first of all, let me get to one of them real quick. Started my Sunday. Let's go backwards. Had my Sunday, which was Sundays. Got to rock out there for a second. I got to go to my 80s joint, which I didn't get to last week because of some complications. But check this out. Let's get to it. What's good, everybody? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And we are here rocking. Yeah. About to take you to the 80s. Yeah. So we went there to the 80s. That was that. Also some other joints that went on this weekend. If you didn't know, we also had Kalanji. He had an interview with Patrice Lumumba's daughter. So if y'all ain't know about that, make sure y'all check that out too. Give you a little quick snippet of that.
That is the rule of democracy, and they try to make democracy. And at that time, they didn't understand really what he wanted, because they wanted to be free, yes, but to copy and to make exactly all the white have done in our country. He said, no, we don't need to imitate them. We need to be ourselves. We have our.
Right. Boy, I tell you, she looked just like her pappy. That right there was a great interview, so check that out. Also, we had on the Warrior class. The Warrior class was comparing us to fighting different people. It was kind of crazy. Check this out real quick.
So now we got the big heavy hitters. We have the RemiX Morning Show against the Breakfast Club and the Young Turks.
Yeah, Breakfast Club and the Young Turks.
And the Young Turks. We had to get extra because of the amount of people.
All right, so.
Yeah, y'all got to go check the rest of that one out too. Like I said, that was pretty dope. If you want to know how it came out when you're talking to the Warriors of fighting, go check that one out. And last but not least, before we take it back, let's go to our kids' favorite show. We had Uncle Devin. Yeah.
If you're ready to have some fun, let me hear you say yeah. I mean, if you're really ready to have some fun, let me hear you say, oh yeah. If you're ready to have some fun, let me hear you say yeah. If you're ready to have some fun, let me hear you say B-E.
Weekend right here on Black Power Media. So make sure y'all check all the. Make sure y'all check out all the shows, and we're gonna keep giving it to you like that. So let's get back to our morning.
What's happening, man? Good thing. RemiX Morning Show. Good stuff, man. There's a lot of great things that went on this weekend, man. And
yeah, man. Yeah, it was dope. It was a good weekend. Boy,
your mic sounds low, brother.
Oh, there we go. My bad. Yeah, it was a dope weekend. Like I said, we had a lot of stuff on. Boy, Patrice Lumumba daughter. Yeah, he spat her out, boy. They look just alike.
Yeah. They definitely
That was a dope weekend. So that's
No
what it
doubt.
is. Let's give y'all a little
How
recap.
they gonna compare us to what is the Breakfast Club and Young Turks?
Yeah.
You know what? We
Smash them. We'll smash them, son.
we need to play that. You know what I'm saying? I think that you should play that clip right there, that entire clip.
I think they should go watch the clip, the whole show.
Okay, all right.
Hey,
Okay. don't mind me for trying to fill the show up, but anyway,
we got it.
We appreciate that, man.
No
Thanks
doubt.
for that.
Y'all rock out.
No doubt. Okay, Renegade Coach are back again.
Renegade Coach is back. She at?
Yes, for those that ask, here we are. Anyway, so I guess we got to do a Renegade Culture style. You know what I'm saying?
Renegade Culture.
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a Renegade Culture style. We ain't gonna do no since folks didn't want to show up. We're gonna do it like this. So check it out.
Well, I don't know. Wait a minute. Any folks didn't want to show up. People
well, no, I mean,
God
they
damn.
got schedules.
God damn.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
They didn't want to show up.
Yeah, I had to bomb on cats because it's just me being who I am. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the remixes. How y'all doing out there, man? Where y'all from? Because I've been, on a lot of these shows, folks are telling us they're in Liberia and in the Sudan and all types of different places. So let us know where you tuning in from, so we can get a kind of an idea of where we hitting these days. In the chat room, let us know what's going on. Anyway, Kamal, man, you heard the news about Maroon, right?
Yes, I did. Folks who don't know, Russell Maroon Schultz, former Black Panther, or veteran Black Panther Party member, right, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He has been granted release. Unfortunately, he is ill, so he is going to a hospice. And I think it's great for him and his family, and even a larger movement, that this brother will get to spend some time outside of the walls. I do caution folks, at least in my own view, I don't see it as a great political victory. It wasn't like we negotiated. We gave them theirs, they gave them ours, that kind of thing. But nevertheless, we still rather have our folks outside the walls than inside the walls. There's a few more to get. But Russell Maroon Schultz Jr., who's been working on his father's case as long as the rest of his family, the third, who's been working on his case as well as the rest of his family for decades. I know this is a happy moment for them. They're going to be so pleased, so excited to see their dad outside of the walls and so forth, and be able to spend some time with him that's not regulated by the clock and not confined by some prison guards. So all praises due, man. All praises due.
Yeah, and definitely shout out to like you said, Russell and his sister Teresa and the entire family working to get them back on as well. We had Russell on a few weeks ago on I Mix What I Like, and the thing it kind of and I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad that they're out, that Russell Maroon Schultz is out. They said they gave him a compassionate release. We don't agree with it being compassionate because we know that these motherfuckers have no compassion. Unfortunately, it reminds me of what went on with Marilyn Buck. I understand that that Russell's in grave condition, and we pray that somehow he's able to pull out and everything ends up on the right side of things. That would be perfect. You know what I mean? But we know that they usually, they allow our people out when it's like the last days, for lack of better words. But definitely we're happy that he's out from behind those particular walls. All the work that he's done and all the good folks out there. And we say free them all because there's so many different political prisoners out there that need to come home, who are aging and who are being tortured through medical neglect and medical negligence and to a degree medical apartheid. Folks like Mumia, folks like Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown, Sundiata Kohli, and so many others. You know what I mean? So we definitely keep on banging, keep on fighting. I also like to say shout out to the folks who put together the tribunal this past weekend. If you missed that, it was a heavy piece. The Spirit of Mandela, You know, it's a lot of good stuff that came up out of it, and we're looking to have some of them folks on Black Power Media to talk about next steps. So definitely salute to all of them.
Yeah, and speaking of which, that was the brain trust behind that was Jaleel Montequin, another former political prisoner, Black Panther Party member, Black Liberation Army member, who came out the system and came out running. I remember when Dhoruba bin Wahad was released, he came out the system and he came out running. These cats are political folks. They're organizers. They did things that no matter how political some of us are, we've never done. And probably will never do, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
So these
So
cats,
cool, same thing.
Sekou Odinga, that's right. These cats have sacrificed time, energy, parts of their life to the struggle. The very least we can do is to not only be of support to them when they come out, but to continue to organize in a way that helps manifest their politics. It's the very least that we can do. If we can't do the things that they did, we can at least do the mass-based organizing that is necessary to even force the state's hand to help try to release some of these people, and bigger and better, to bring back the politics we need in our community for the organizing that's going to change some things, so that on a mass base, when it's time to do some of those things again, there's people with us and for us. Because that's one of the things. One of the things that happened with the Panthers and the Black Liberation Army is that the state made the big attempt to separate the tactics and actions from that, from what they did from the rest of the community, right? And it used people like the NAACP, CORE, and other organizations.
National Action Network.
National Action, to go like, no, that's not how we get victory. We get victory by voting for these Democrats. That's how we get victory,
And I want to say, a lot of times, you hear the criticisms that we have. And it's important for many folks to know that we've not only a lot of this shit isn't things that we heard. This is things that we know because of the fact that we were involved in organizing efforts with many of the folks that we just named, and we saw the blockages and the blocks that they tried to throw at us. You know what I'm saying? And tried to make excuses and water things down. Even here in Atlanta, there was a situation where Dhoruba was attacked by the police some years ago at his home. And we were organizing, did a press conference, so on and so forth. And the police chief calls up the local National Action Network president and the NAACP folks, asking them about negotiating deals. And we had to shut all the motherfuckers down in front of the police chief to let them know, look, dude, I served as Dhoruba's spokesperson. I let the police chief know, like, look, homie, we don't care nothing about what they're talking about, and into their face, y'all can let them know that y'all don't run shit, and y'all not even in the mix over here. So we don't even understand why you at this meeting. You know what I mean? Police chief, he gets mad. Oh, I got out my bed for this. I got out my bed for this too, motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who you supposed to be? You know what I mean? But the thing is, it's like you have all of these runners who work on behalf of the state, either by default or on purpose. Some of them are getting checks, and some of them want that respect. Some of them want to sit at the table. You know what I mean? But we're not concerned with sitting at the table. You know what I mean? Especially when we have comrades who served 50 plus years in the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? Many of them in solitary confinement. Shout out to folks like Jaleel because of the fact that, not only his service before he went in, but even after. Matter of fact, he was the first podcast he was on ever was Renegade Culture. You know what I'm saying? And he also serves as one of our advisors on our council, on our board here at BPM. But folks like him and Dhoruba and Sekou, I commend these brothers because of the fact that, they came out scarred but still breathing. Yeah. They didn't say, look, we're not going to fight no more because of the fact that the state might be watching us, or they might be concerned with us. No, boom, where we fit in. This is what we came up with when we was on lock, and this is where we are now. And we've sat down with these folks and quote unquote entertainers. We had a big meeting last year with some of the local rappers and some of the BPP folks. You know what I mean? Some of the political prisoners, which we still have to hold some of these. I was
going to say quickly too, and let's not forget the things that these folks did inside. When they were inside the prison, they did stuff, right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean they didn't stop even in the prison. Like they did stuff that, you know, they organized political education. There's several folks I remember back in the day, folks who come out of prison, they start looking for political organizations because of their training under coup or Mutulu, that kind of thing. Yeah, these folks come out, they're looking for it. Yeah.
And that's
special shout out to David Gilbert. David Gilbert, who's also potentially, at least potentially, had his, sentence commuted, so he's now eligible at least for parole. So shout out to him too. You know, white anti-imperialist freedom fighter who was supportive of the Black Liberation Army actions back in the day, who played an important role. A lot of these folks, you know, a lot of the folks on the East Coast who played an important role in the liberation of Assata. People stand up for Assata today. They talk about, you know, Assata said this and Assata said that. And they're the daughters of Assata, the sons of Assata, the aunts and uncles of Assata, everybody for Assata. But they don't support the very people who helped liberate Assata. They don't support the very people who got imprisoned with Assata. They don't know any of those folks' names. Yeah, they can chant Assata's quotes at Democratic Party events. But they can't name you the other political exiles and prisoners who worked with Assata, who need the same support that Assata gets here close up. And you need you to deal with those politics that Assata was representing, as opposed to thinking that you're going to just say her name and somehow you've done something powerful for the people.
Right. Say her name and it's all good. It all magically disappears. You know, but I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that Sekou was talking about. He said, don't say Assata's name if you're not saying Sundiata Akoli's name. You understand? Because of the fact that, you know, this is her Cody. You know what I mean? Sundiata's 84 years old, up in prison right now, just got another 3-year hit, going up for parole. And it's like, you know, no, come back in another 3 years. So they're saying, like, look, come back when you're 87 for us to see if you're eligible for parole. You know what I mean? And when you talk about, you mentioned David Gilbert, shout out to Laura Whitehorn, who we had on Riot Starter TV. When you talk about the Weather Underground and SDS and so many other folks, who the May 19th Communist Coalition, so many of these folks who are still to this day, again, they got out and they didn't just say, you know, free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. They said, we're using the Harriet Tubman Code. We're reaching back to our brothers and sisters and comrades who we left behind. We say no prisoners left behind, one prisoner, one contact. We continue that movement because that's what it's all about. And for all you all that's checking out the RemiX Morning Show and that support Black Power Media, we implore you to definitely write a political prisoner. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't find, go to the JerichoMovement.org, the JerichoMovement.org. I know they have a list of political prisoners. Find someone to write. You know what I'm saying? Ask how they're doing. Ask how you can assist in their campaigns. Because you can't, as Kamal said, you just can't be running around talking about, you know, I am Assata and I stand with Assata, but you ain't doing jack shit that Assata did. That don't mean you have to go do all the things she did, but at least, you know, organize. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Organization is key.
And that's the other thing too, like those cats back in the day, when we talk about the different movements, you mentioned the May 19th movement, the Weather Underground, SDS, the Panthers and stuff like that.
RAM,
look
RNA.
Look at the networks, the Republic of New Africa. Look at the networks. Even if they were infighting, these folks created networks with each other as organizational groupings, right? And then they had international networks. Like we can barely sit in the same room with our folks half the time, right? So people created networks of organizational infrastructure, right? And again, it's not that they did everything right. It's not that everything was perfect, but they understood the reality of what revolutionary struggle was in a way that we seem to not understand today. That you got underground, you got above ground, you got international, you got petitions, you got war in the streets, you got all that stuff, and it's all interconnected and intertwined in a way in which we do not understand today. Because today we just think that, again, if we back some elected official, that we can win. We create, like you mentioned earlier, if we create 4 dozen organizations and they got 5 people in them each, but we refuse to link up with organizations, we refuse to merge. We can't even do what the big corporations do. They see a way to make themselves bigger. They don't care about their names. They don't care. They don't care about that kind of stuff. They're like, you get this position, you take that position, you take that position. We're gonna haul off some more cash. right? Our folks can't do that. We can't join, and we can't say like, you take this position, this position, this position. We create a council of how we work together. We figure it out, good or bad. We're gonna figure out, because we got to grow a movement. We got to grow organizational infrastructure in order even to challenge these people on the ground. Like those kind of things we don't play with these days. We don't deal with in a way that's exciting, that's new, that's challenging to make the movement bigger, in a way that's not strictly dependent on nonprofit funding, right? We just don't move that way these days.
Right, and I think that's that's part of efforts that we've had with BPM. You know what I mean? We were already doing our own thing. Jed and I, Mix What I Like, was doing what he was doing. We was like, okay, boom, let's come together and let's bring some other folks and let's have a united front and let's make this shit bigger. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, it's and no one is saying that when you form united fronts or when you form organizations or coalitions that it's going to be easy. It wasn't easy to get in this position, and it's damn sure not going to be easy to get out. There's going to be contradictions. There's going to be conclusions that don't conclude. There's going to be all types of shit. But the thing is, recognizing that we have served or played the role of the victim, understanding that we've been attacked on all fronts. It's hard to wrestle in mud and come out clean. You know what I'm saying? You could spray it with the hose and all that, but you might have some dirt under your fingernails. You know what I'm saying? You might have some particles left over that you didn't realize that you had on you. And that's what happens in organization. When you're talking about organizing, we come from different types of worlds. We're oppressed in the same world. We're oppressed by the same people, but it's different levels of oppression. You know what I'm saying? It's different ways that we've been oppressed. It's different experiences that we've had. So I'm saying that to say that not only from the organization itself, but even down to the chat room. You know what I'm saying? Even the folks in the chat, please understand that everybody that hops inside the chat might not have the political education that you have. And if you are politicized and you happen to have some information that someone doesn't, then you share it. You know what I'm saying? It's each one teach one. It's not about shut this person down because of the fact that they're coming in from a whole nother perspective. One thing I learned about this whole internet thing is oftentimes you have folks who are in different countries, different regions, different continents, so on and so forth, and they may say something, whereas they might have meant the same thing you did, but English might be their second or third or fourth language. And I see some folks jump and they get handing out beat downs. You know what I mean? The one thing that Kwame Ture said is we have to be patient with our people. You understand what I'm saying? We have to be patient with our people. And if you're not patient with your people, then you're doing your people a disservice. Because you have to think about some of the low points that you had. Whereas if certain organizations would have rolled up on your ass, then you would have been deemed an enemy. And if some of you were doing the judging, then shit, you might have got beheaded.
And real quickly, I know we're gonna go to the ear doctor soon, but there's a brother in the chat, Elder. He just had a birthday. Jamu Baraka, and I do want to give a special shout out to BAP, Black Alliance for Peace, because I will say that organization is growing. It is hitting on international themes, anti-imperialist themes that we need as a people. It is working with other organizations. It is settling disputes with other individuals and organizations, and I feel like it is trying to do it the right way. And trying to get the word out about the anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist stance that we need. So shout out to Ajamu for creating that organization. And shout out to that brother for the work that he's done, and all the members of BAP who are supporters of BPM and who are doing their own work. Shout out to that organization, Black Alliance for Peace, because it's on the ground doing the work that we need.
Yes, and shout out to all organizations. Shout out to all organizations that out there who are sincere.
Not all. Yeah, there you go.
Not all who are sincere about our people's liberation. Definitely not all. Some of y'all some bullshit. And you already know it, but that's just, ain't for me to tell you because you already know. But but shout out to those who are out there, those who are workers out in the community and making an effort. At some point, let's make sure that we build on a serious united front, not just fronting like we united, you know what I'm saying, but a united front that's going to get us up out of this conundrum because of the fact that, the preacher said it's getting late in the evening, you know what I'm saying, and it damn sure is. With that in mind, let's get the Bishop Ear Doctor Don Juan III to come on deck.
Hey, I thought you was about to say all organizations matter, Kalanji, but I'm glad you
remember that. They do matter.
Hey, yo, so I'm just out here in the desert, in the Mecca. You know,
Okay.
I'm just I got some thoughts on my mind. I just want to share them with the people if that's cool with y'all.
Hey, please do, sir.
No doubt. Let's get to it.
Remix.
What's good, everybody? This is the Ear Doctor once again, and I was out here just thinking. I was thinking about what's coming up here. You know, we got this big celebration for some coming up, which is known as Halloween. That's right. Halloween is coming up. Also known as All Hallows Eve. Is pretty much a Christian holiday to recognize, you know, the people that passed, their saints and their martyrs and people like that. Now, you know, a lot of us say, oh, we're not celebrating this pagan holiday. We get it. It's a pagan holiday. But what in this culture, this bastardized culture, is it? So I was thinking, so do we actually take over this holiday like we've done? For me, I've no longer done Thanksgiving and Christmas. I call it Family Day. Therefore, I'm able to celebrate with my family, friends, and all that stuff, and not have to even bring up that whole topic because it's a time. Now, what other time is it that we can allow our kids to dress up and, you know, be superheroes, be this, that, and the third, and not feel a certain way? Well, how about we call it Martyr Day? Maybe possibly call it a Martyr Day and celebrating our martyrs and people that done stuff in our history where they can dress up and learn about them. There's different ways we could go about this, just like how we took over the word nigga. We now call each other nigga instead of giving it to the power to the people that put that negative connotation behind it. So that's just my thoughts real quick on what we could possibly do. Maybe continue with the trunk or treat, and maybe not give them so much candy and sugar. There's different ways we could go about doing this. So it's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts? And what can make us take it to another level and do something positive instead of continuing this negative stereotype of Halloween and allowing our kids and us to dress up and have fun? Be nurses that will never be. Be ninjas that will never be. I'm just saying, just my thoughts. Now let's get back. Yeah. Wait a minute. What's this going on with these faces?
I don't understand what you talking about. It's so much I can't even get to it. You said dressing up like our favorite historical figures, and then you said something else at the end that just blew my mind. I can't.
Learning about our historical figures like Garvey, like Queen Mother Moore, and possibly dressing up like them and knowing the history of it, instead of allowing this day to be, you know, narrated by somebody else.
And I mean, can't we just get another day? I want to turn Halloween.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing about the Family Day and the Christmas and Thanksgiving. These are the days that we get off of work and people are able to fly in and be with their family and friends. So we need to take advantage of these days.
I'm gonna leave you alone.
I don't think we'll get Halloween off, but that's just, I mean, off day for Halloween, but okay.
I'm saying it's just a thought. I mean, don't y'all miss when y'all was kids? Y'all act like when y'all get adults, y'all forget about being a kid. Do y'all not remember how fun Halloween was?
Halloween wasn't fun in Brooklyn, B. It was a battle. It was a war zone.
Oh, whatever.
It was egged or be egged.
Yeah.
Tell me your war story, man.
I did do that. We knocked on people's doors and threw eggs and ran. That was what Halloween was.
That was mischief night before. Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying we need to realize that this is a bastard culture and start.
We didn't do all that. All that. See, that's the white folks. They've extended this shit to like a whole like this you do to that. I told y'all last week, like you go to these neighborhoods, parents got their little bottles open, like doop, 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 doop. Everybody's sipping wine. I was like, what the hell is going on here? I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's right. Detroit, they had Hell Night. Shit was crazy. Buildings was burning. Although I'm not mad at that one, but that's another thing.
I'm saying, let's take advantage of these days that they give.
Anyway,
We can't forget we still are prisoners of war on this plantation. Let's not get it twisted.
True.
Okay, I like how you try to politicize that. But
I always it's always political, Kalonji. You should know that by now.
I like
Thank you,
that.
sir.
I like that. He brought me back. He brought me back from the break.
Anyway, that was a good deal.
No doubt.
Doctor.
Catch y'all later. Peace.
All right, brother.
There's your doctor.
That was the Air Doctor with our Halloween politics for the day. You know what I'm saying? Ski mask, Wade, the ransom note. Yeah, that's what we gotta do. Anyway, shout out to all those brothers and sisters out in the street. You know what I mean? That's handling their business, that's working hard and sticking their foot up in the establishment's ass. You know what I'm saying? Do that for Halloween.
Is that what they're doing on Halloween?
I don't know. I was thinking, Air Doctor told us to think about ideas. So, you know what I'm saying? So, unite with my brother and just come up, add on to what it is he had to bring to the story. You know what I'm saying? What the Air Doctor just said, he said everything's political. You know what I'm saying? He tried to hit us with our shit. You know what I'm saying? Boy, you colder than the white man, Air Doctor. But anyway, moving right along, man. It does feel like kind of renegade culture-ish up in this motherfucker. But I want to talk about Donald Trump real quick, man. You know what I'm saying? We ain't say nothing about Trump in a while. They had Trump Jr. I heard he was selling T-shirts on his website, and the T-shirt said, "Guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin does." So,
I do have to admit that was funny though. As much as
that was each you know.
Every now and then the right wingers come up with something funny. That shit was funny. It's a tragedy, of course, but it's
of course, definitely a tragedy. But you know, we know that I guess Alec Baldwin was giving his father hell on Saturday Night Live with all the Trump spoofs, and then this happened, and this cat actually put this on his website. I'm telling you, man, these motherfuckers are ruthless. They have no care nor concern. Now you know damn well, if Melania Obama put some shit like that online about somebody, it would have been an outrage. And it would have been crazy. They talked about how she was insensitive and how they should, the Obama should be reprimanded, and then Barack would have to get up on TV to denounce his daughter and all this type shit. It's amazing, man. It's just like,
but in some ways they right. I mean, people, people want to talk about either cancel culture or political correctness. But I don't mind if folks go like, you know what, there's some shit, check folks who go too far. And I think that's the right wing movement, which is, part of why it works in these sort of right wing white communities, or these communities who are used to sort of a white supremacist approach to things, is that they don't like being checked. They don't like being shut down. They want to go back to the old days of when they can. That's what this dude said. He said like we adopted the word nigga. I was like, we all didn't adopt that. You know what I mean? It's a larger conversation.
Right.
But
before you go there, I want to correct. Somebody corrected me in the chat. They said it was what is it, Malia instead of Melania. I don't give a fuck. The imperialist daughter. That's who it is. I fucked the name up. Sorry, whoever she is. Her father and her mother, they are agents of the state, so fuck them and Melania Trump. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep on, brother.
Oh no. So real quickly, it's like so I think there's a challenge again for left around again how whether or not we want to call it political correctness, but whether or not we're willing to check each other on things that we say and or do, which are a bit too far, because we should not be trying to hurt people or whatever. And again, and it's a balance, right? Because sometimes this shit can get going too far, where like people just checking everything you do and trying to create an ideology that puts you in their box. So I think that's all that stuff that's got to be dealt with. But I'm not mad at folks who think that, these folks, they think that they're breaking out of political correctness. And really what they're trying to establish is in a sense of we're going to control again. People have been taking control from us And so part of what we want to do is to control again, which means we want to be able to say whatever we want to say, do whatever we want to do, and take these resources wherever we want to do it. And if you dare challenge us, you know, we're gonna put our army on you and stuff like that. So even though I don't think Trump was so extraordinary outside the caliber of like what a white supremacist America has given us, I do understand. I think that Trump is a beat backwards in terms of, let's go back to the Woodrow Wilson days, the Teddy Roosevelt days of white supremacy, where we could be open and honest about it, and conquer the world like we did back in the day. There are folks who are actually fighting to get back to that position. I think part of the fight, of course, is to challenge it all. But I can see why people were particularly upset, because it seems like it was going 10 steps back to what people thought was a progression of progress.
Yeah, I mean, this is, our confusion is confusing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, the crazy thing about it, again, when you lack organization, you know, you lack clarity as to what the fight is about, what the struggle is about, who to fight against, when to fight, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? I'm just always amazed just at, like, America is such a entertainment-driven society. So much so that entertainment and politics are hand in hand. And we know that because, again, we mentioned Sonny Bono earlier today. He became that mayor. Why? Because of the fact that he was Sonny Bono. Ronald Reagan became governor of California because he was Ronald Reagan. He became president of the United States because he was an actor named Ronald Reagan, and he was a good actor. You know what I'm saying? Jesse the Body Ventura became governor of Minnesota. Why? Because of the fact that he was a popular celebrity. He was an actor. You know what I'm saying? He was a wrestler. Keep going. Schwarzenegger, same thing. He was an actor. You know what I'm saying? So the reality, Trump, he was an actor. He was a reality star. The reality of American politics is that, you know, it is a joke. It is for entertainment purposes only. And the ill thing about it is that the quote unquote leadership that's propped up, of course, we know they are not the leadership. You know what I mean? So they say, just let me put this face right here on this head right here, and this is going to be talking head, and they're going to say what we want them to say or not, and this is how we're going to move. Meanwhile, these policies are still going to be implemented. You know what I'm saying? Folks are still going to be bombed all across the world. You know what I mean? And the U.S. is still going to remain a quote unquote superpower, no matter what. You know, until someone topples it. We're talking about, again, a country that up until World War II, 5% of the world population, but controlled over 50% of the resources on the planet, the mineral resources, the wealth. 50%, that shit, the mathematics on that. I mean, it's almost impossible. It seems unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? So after World War II, they lose part of that, lose half of the resources. They still control 25%. You know what I'm saying? But we're sitting here arguing about powerless individuals who are placed up and propped up for a season. Meanwhile, real shit is continuing to take place. Now, I'm not saying that these individuals don't insult or hurt or disrespect nor disregard or whatever the case is. You know, I'm just saying that imagine what will happen if the American population, the world population decides that enough is enough and that imperialism as a whole must be stopped. It must be conquered. Excuse me. Imagine where would we stand then? How much change will we really have? You know what I mean? So again, that treadmill I talked about, Jackie Joyner Kersey, she gone. You know what I'm saying? That treadmill. You know,
and that's part of the propaganda model is to, you know, and again, that's why the heavy forces of the state act occasionally, but they don't act like they do in some other places, right? Because it's the level of propaganda here is so much more greater. In some ways, some people think of it as more sophisticated, that you're right. It's like for us, success is watching other people who are celebrities do things, whether or not it's like their regular celebrity haunt of acting or singing or dancing, or whether or not it's now that they switch from one form of entertainment to another and go into politics, right?
And that's
so
what it is.
For them, it's all about the notoriety. It's all about the celebrity. But if they carry with them the baggage of those politics that they came with, then they're it's much easier to get them in than maybe to bring somebody else up or whatever. So it's all part of that propaganda game to keep us eyes on them and not eyes on what we have to do in our community. And so many of our regular folks, they'd rather spend time talking about those folks or doing things with those folks or watching those folks because they see them as the real power brokers. They see them as people who have something to say, or they think that they look a certain way, so they want to follow them. And it keeps them distracted, right? Distracted from the real struggle of the days. And again, that's part of the propaganda model that they're trying to export, right? Through Facebook, through Twitter, through Instagram.
Or CNN.
Yeah, Tyranny talked about earlier how Facebook has become the internet, and for people in a lot of places, not just a social media platform, but the entire internet, like how they get things, how they view things, all controlled by one capitalist who stole an idea from some other wannabe capitalists at the time. Now they're like in a position to start directing people and people's thoughts and ideas and how they view the world. And then they again they form alliances with those governments to get to decide what people get to see and what they don't get to see.
Right. And to someone's point in the chat, they said, are we saying that people can't be politicians because they're entertainers? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that the people are politicians because they were entertainers. Not that they can't be politicians because they were entertainers. They are politicians because they were entertainers. And what we're saying in a nutshell is that that politics is another form of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's a straight up and down form of entertainment to keep you confused because of the fact that policies that support the people rarely come into play. You know what I'm saying? You'll get all types of other bullshit before you get anything remotely that impacts the whole in a positive manner. I want to point out too, I think that when it comes to the story, someone's asking about the story about Trump. How did Trump get into it? We're talking about the fact that Donald Trump Jr. put up a T-shirt for sale on his site talking about guns don't kill people, that Alec Baldwin killed people. And of course, as we stated, we know that it was a problem with the props, so on and so forth. And no one's blaming Alec Baldwin. At least we're not blaming Alec Baldwin. You know what I'm saying? And, quite frankly, I don't really give a fuck about Alec Baldwin if you want to be technical. I was just pointing out just how much of a piece of shit Donald Trump Jr. is to use someone's tragedy, you know what I'm saying, as a way to get even with someone who he's not a fan of, him or his father. You know what I mean? So that's what we're saying on that level. But we have to, if we're gonna, in my opinion, of course we know that all politics are local. I'm cool with building up the grassroots politician, but for all the folks who are talking about politics on a national level, if you can honestly say that you help to elect someone for the school board in your district, you helped elect someone that you knew on a grassroots level to city council or to be an alderman or something like that, politicians that you can actually touch, reach, and know where they live. If we can start with that first, then we may have a chance on a national level. But again, recognizing that, this whole quote unquote two-party system is designed to do what's always been done. That's the business. You know what I mean? We're going to get the same old results. What do they say? They say when you, and I'm about to jack up a quote in the definition on purpose, but when you continue to do the same things that get you the
definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again.
Definition of insanity, not crazy. Yeah.
Look at that. You're going to try to correct me after you couldn't even come up with the goddamn quote. He's like, oh, no, it's not crazy. It's
we don't call motherfucker crazy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. Thank you. Oh,
no problem, brother.
Politically help you out.
Yeah.
Help you out.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what we're doing here. We know that this is, shit. It's like, Vote for this one. Don't vote for that one. Okay, cool. Yeah, Biden won. What the fuck did you win? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the craziness. People celebrating. Yes, Biden won, and great, wonderful. Kamala is the vice
again,
president.
for me, it's all about whether or not this, similar to what you're saying, it's what have you created on the ground? What have we created on the ground?
Right.
That even if you get somebody in office that you think you can counter, or you think you can work with, or you can make them do things, again, if you don't have a movement on the ground, then you're not going to be able to do that, right? You can't do that. And you're basically, people think they're playing chess. I'm like, no, you're playing checkers. Somebody else is playing chess. Because they motivating you to get your people to go vote for somebody because they're telling you the other person is far more evil. And because that other person uses language, again, that's more scary,
right?
You think, okay, this is what I do on the ground. And again, they pump to us, you know what? This is the most important election of your lifetime. Every 4 to 2 years, it's the most important election of your lifetime, which means it's never important at all, because every time they say it to you, you jump up and you keep it going. And again, if it was done in such a, again, there's some organizations that I feel are more strategic than others. There's some organizations I know that collect mad loot, and then they make sure that the grassroots organizations on the ground get a piece of that. They feel like they're playing, they're serving a purpose by playing a certain game. I'm not going to totally diss that strategy, but most of them really buy in and believe that they are going to make some significant change by working with Biden, by over let's say somebody like Donald Trump, where this recent round of policy execution that's been going on has to show you. This dude came in with this big talk about what he's going to do. He's pulling forth this policy program, and not even every day he's taking step back, step back, step back, step back, step back, step back. To really, the only important thing for him right now is to pass something, and it's not dependent on what it does, what it creates, how it changes anybody's lives. He just needs to pass something. Why? Because his game is to get reelected again, or to get his party elected again, and to control some apparatus of power. That's their game. It's not about whether or not they're changing people's lives. It's not about whether or not folks have health care. It's not about whether or not folks have good jobs. It's not about folks have affordable housing. It's not about redistributing resources to make sure that people have a livable wage or guaranteed incomes. All that don't matter. All that matters is that I get reelected, as opposed to the other party. But I'm still going to do those wars when I want to.
That's right.
I'm still going to drop them drones when the time is right. When my capitalist friends tell me that this one and that one is acting out of hand, we're still going to do that. We're still going to give more funds to the police, because they're going to control the populace force. And as long as you vote, you're okay. But if you don't vote and you're doing some other street demonstrations, then you are a target, because you're messing up our game.
The ill thing that you just said, besides the bombs, you could have been talking about Kasim Reed on a local level. You know what I'm saying? All the shit you just talked about. It's like I said, saying from the top to the bottom. It's just like, it's, it's politics as usual, but, I believe, I have trust and faith in our people. And I think that at some point a rock might fall on their head and be like, you know what? Wait, this shit ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just the money and the resources and time and energy that's put into these national elections are like amazing. You know what I mean? And I know that folks was like, we have to get rid of Trump. We have to get rid of this one. We got to get rid of that one. And like you said, I was born and fucking Nixon was the president. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen a president was fair and just. No, not even Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a piece of shit as well. Now he's grown to be some type of humanitarian and all of that. But no, you know what I'm saying? It's been bullshit. You know what I mean? Every president that I ever knew. Carter was probably the first president that I actually paid attention to, because I was like in the 4th grade. They had the situation with Iran, when they had the hostages and shit, and they tried to, that was the first time I recognized that their acts of patriotism. You know what I'm saying? They wanted you to be a patriot. In our schools, they gave us these little yelling ribbons we were supposed to wear because of the fact that you should free the hostages and shit in Iran and all of that type stuff. And, you know, going to the 4th grade, my politics wasn't on point. I got home with that yellow ribbon. My father snatched this. He said, what is this? Then he told me what the fuck was going on with the Iranian Revolution. So I showed up the next day and I'm demilitant. And I'm schooling the other kids like, nah, this will really happen. See, the Shah, he's a criminal too. Boom, boom, boom. And Khomeini, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's and it went on and on from Reagan to Bush and Clinton and Bush and you know what I'm saying? And Obama and, you know, Trump and Biden, and it's the same shit. It's like, you know, when we gonna stop this cycle of insanity?
Yeah, and I get it's you know, people so much, and that, you know, it's part of what you're saying in terms of what we look at and how we are directed to pay attention to. There's so much information and there's so much of putting our eyes on these elections, right? Particularly through a particular point of view that tells us that this is how we do things to change our world. And similarly, right, there's so much attention when international events are put on. They give us that narrative of why we should pay attention and care and who we should be rooting for, right? We should be rooting for America against the Ayatollah. Right. We should be rooting for America. We should be rooting for the Shah. You know that kind of stuff becomes how we see the world ourselves. I mean, that's like poignant. Your pop slapped the shit because it's like that's the schools play their role. The schools play their role, right?
Indoctrination on all levels.
Yeah, my child is learning now about the Revolutionary War, and every day I'm like, what they tell you today? Crispus Attucks. Oh, because he black. That's what they want to tell you about. They want to tell you about Crispus Attucks. You know what I mean? Right. Standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's what the system does. It wants you to believe that you have a stake in keeping capitalist America alive and running and chugging along, when the only stake you got is and to put a stake through it. Right. That's the real stake. Is how do we do that successfully and build a new? Yeah,
vampire's
that's
heart.
what it is.
Right. And that, you know, you said something earlier. You said these folks run around talking about they playing chess. You know, I'm so sick of these fucking sayings. Oh, I'm playing chess, not chess. Oh, I'm the spook that step by the door. Oh, you ain't shit, man. You're a victim. You are a slave. You're an exaggerated American. You are still coming with a Negro mind looking through European eyes. And in order to make you feel better about yourself, you telling me some bullshit about you playing chess, not chess, and you in the same oppressive regime that I'm under, but yet somehow you've advanced and you're in a greater situation than us lonely wretches of the earth over here. You know what I'm saying? Until you
got some access, you got some access, and you got some more resources, and then you stick your chest out like you've done something.
You special.
You get to meet with Elizabeth Warren now.
Oh wow!
You get to go meet with Joe Biden now. Bernie Sanders invited you to his cookout.
Oh my!
That's
Bernie Sanders inviting people to the cookout.
He got his own cookout in Vermont. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The meat ain't salted. That's part of the problem.
Okay. Word.
But you got the invite. Now you feel like you've done something. You up in there. You get some meeting with some cabinet level official in DC or something like that. So now you feel like somehow your words to these folks are so extremely important, right? So you bought into it. You bought into the whole idea that you're going to change the system as opposed to the system doing what? Changing you, changing you from what your beliefs are, right? Telling you that, okay, you know what you got to do? You just put pressure. You just help us get 3 more Democrats in here. Everything's going to be smooth. Everything's going to be good. You know what I mean? Let's get 5 more Democrats at this federal level. Everything's going to be good. I need you to go protest that Republican who's stopping us from doing all the good things that we want to do.
Blame it on the Republicans.
That's all it is. It's just like that. And you go, yes, boss. That's right. Because that's the only way it's going to work, right? Like you're not doing any grassroots organizing. You ain't been in the black community since you've been in the black community. You know what I mean? You done moved out.
Folks don't want to hear that though, man. I mean, because of the fact that, you know, I hear people, and I'm going to go there. I mean, I hear people talking about like our homie, Baraka. up in Newark. You know what I'm saying? We love the Barakas. You know what I'm saying? We love Amiri and Amina Baraka, and we think that Ross had good intent. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, again, when you talking about American politics, you're not gonna pimp them, they're gonna pimp you. And if they don't, they will find a way to try to permanently smear your name. You know what I'm saying? The ink that Cynthia McKinney signed her name with. You know what I'm saying? They was trying to smudge that shit before the ink dried. We got to be clear about who and what we're dealing with. You're not coming up in their system trying to change anything. It's great in, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what are these cats? The Black Caucus. You know what I'm saying? We still have folks trying to appeal to the Black Caucus. What is the Black Caucus going to do?
And
what
that's
are they going to do?
Like when there was a movement, the Black Caucus was more radical.
Yes.
That Black Caucus of 40 years ago wasn't the same Black Caucus, but only because there was a movement on the ground.
Absolutely.
In the first place. That, of course, got destroyed and brought off, but only because there was a movement on the ground that those folks had to respond to. I've been in meetings with Raz. He said this. He said, as the, I used to be in the organization, Black Near Force, way back in the day, or whatever like that. But I've been in meetings with him as mayor. And, what does he say for organizers and activists? He's like, people don't know what it's like to be the mayor, or, it's easy to have a sign out on the street, that kind of thing. So that's always when that's your telltale sign that someone who used to be political, who used to be an organizer, who used to be radical, has now changed their stripes. That's right. When they start telling you all the things that they used to do was almost like childish behavior, but now they really in it. It's like, yeah, you really in it, all right.
Yeah, you're on the wrong side of the barricades. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you'll find your way before it's too late. But shout out to like I said, Amiri, who was a legend and who never changed his stripes. You know what I'm saying? Who was, who only got better. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing. I don't respect movement dropouts. I always run into a cat that tell me about what they used to do. Back in the day, I used to see, you don't know. Fuck all that, man. The war's not over. You know what I'm saying? You're not leaving the battlefield, especially when you got folks like we talked about earlier, like the Sekous and the Darubas and the Bilal Sunyalis and so many other folks who are growing in age and wisdom, but they're not stepping off the battlefield. And if they step off the battlefield, it's only to instruct others, not to try to sidetrack or derail them and tell them that all the work that we've ever done, all the fighting that we're doing for their comrades, like we did for them, is for naught. You understand what I'm saying? I get it's sickening and it's saddening to hear these bastards and to hear folks defend them. I don't give a fuck who your father was. I don't care who your mother was. That ain't got shit to do with nothing. Jack shit would do with a damn thing. If you're not doing what they were doing, then miss us with that bullshit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors. I'm here for what Nat Turner was trying to do. I'm here for what Harriet Tubman was trying to do. I'm here for what Denmark Vesey was trying to do. I'm here for what Dessalines was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? This is what we talking about. The Mau, the freedom fighters, the land of freedom fighters. This is what we talking about. All the other shit y'all talking about, that sounds good. No, we don't know what it's like to be mayor because we're not trying to be mayor. You know what I'm saying? In fact, we're talking about abolishing this whole system and bringing in our own truly democratically elected government. You know what I'm saying? Something of a more socialist nature where we all can eat properly.
When I hear the 20-year-olds, and we got everybody, we got to be patient with each other and all the rest of it. But when I hear the 20-year-olds telling me that they got to drop out, I'm just like, really? What slings and arrows have you endured? That means it's time for you to drop out the movement.
Right.
Or the other thing, the 30-year-olds start to tell me that they all gonna be about the whole, they're gonna train the other people. I was like, you training at 30?
Woo!
Like that word, that's your job now? You gonna train the youth? I was like, you 30 years old, B. Like, what have you, and again, like all of us, there's always been reasons for all of us to leave movement spaces. Lord knows, individually, I feel like I've had enough reasons to leave movement spaces, just because when you feel like it just gets to be like, I didn't get in the movement for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even that, I ain't getting the movement to have some crazy local neighbor in the place where we got our community house call the cops on us or support gentrification. I got to the folks that the dude who bought the who paid for the community house, this white boy, constantly just like 8 years later, like I was like, B, it's like you gave the house. Just leave me alone. You got the crazy dude who like they got the cult running up in the community kind of thing. There's always a reason to retire from the movement.
You sound like you're having fun over there, brother.
Me, I don't know. It's like, yo, there's always a reason to retire.
Hey,
but
man.
you got, but there's bigger. If that's what stops you, you know what I mean? It's just interpersonal relationships that stop you, or it's people's the slings and arrows and all that kind of thing stopping you. Then I got to say, I don't know how serious you were to begin with.
Amen. But
and I don't mean in the diss for the 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds or even the 40-year-olds or whoever old we are.
Yeah.
But you got level of seriousness. You got to withstand some of that stuff to keep it moving.
On the real, and yeah, man. And listen, man. I think the thing is too. Kendrick Lamar, one of the songs he was talking about, be humble. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I mean, we've been there. I get the the feeling of you got the information, you got a certain level of information, and you feel like folks ain't moving the way you want them to move, or like your ideology, or you studied in Nkrumah a little bit deeper than you think this person over here did, or you know what I'm saying, you studied a little bit of Fanon, and now all of a sudden you feel like you are the incarnate. You know what I'm saying? Like you are the new Fanon, or you are the new Lumumba, or you are the new Sekou Touré. All that sound good. You know what I'm saying? But in the real world, we just people with ideas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that shit only goes so far, man.
Yeah.
When you serious about what it is about our people's liberation struggle, people's liberation movement, it goes beyond just what you know or what you think you know. It's what you put into practice.
But that's the other side of the apple for me, is that you get the cats who think they more militant than thou.
Oh, man.
I was like, yo, can you do something first besides shoot off your mouth or something like that? Or can you do something besides yell at somebody or do some push-ups or whatever it is that you into this week?
A cat told me, young cat the other day told me that, you know what I'm saying, that, see y'all do podcasts. See what we do. So I had to smile and my teeth was like, I'm like, dude, you don't even understand, man. Like, I will snap you right now just because I can, just so the next cat that comes along, you know what I'm saying, you'll have a little bit of respect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, and there's nothing, I'm cool with podcasting. You know what I'm saying? But that's not my main job or goal in life. You know what I mean? So don't fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, dude was like, he's real cocky with it too. Like, see y'all do podcasting, we boots on the ground. Like, nigga, I'll step on your toe and crush. You got some sandals on, talking about we boots on the ground. I'll crush your goddamn metatarsals. Playing with me, boy. Anyway, you checking out the RemiX Morning Show.
Y'all went to Renegade Culture. Y'all just got Renegade
Culture. You got. Now, don't ask us no more. Anyway, we appreciate y'all, man. Tomorrow we'll have a little more balance. Today we just felt like talking a little bit of Shiite. You know what I'm saying? I heard y'all talking about. I heard y'all talking about the Dick Gregory joint the other day. That documentary. I finally got to check it. Y'all go out there and check Dick Gregory out. You know what I'm saying? He definitely was a force more than a lot of folks know. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, support that.
And I missed out. I didn't name Paul Mooney. There's a couple other comedians I didn't name who were, again, trying to do that, juggle that political and real talk,
that's right,
that community talk, and trying to make you laugh. And don't worry, y'all. I know y'all may be tired of Dave, but we're gonna get to Dave at some point tomorrow, because I think Dave just released his own statement. We're gonna keep up that conversation.
He got a Tory about
it's really about Dave, because it's about the larger issues again of struggle that's happening in the community. So
it's propaganda.
So we're gonna have to talk about that at some point. But shout out to Dick Gregory again. I completely agree with you. My man Dick Gregory did it from very, very different angles. You know what I mean?
Man, listen, man. I had the opportunity to open up for Dick Gregory twice. You know what I'm saying? I got
you a comic? You do comic? Huh? You mean open up?
No. When he was doing a lecture joint, not.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Right.
If he was doing a little soft shit, what you talking about? He was opening up for Dick Gregory.
Hey, man, nah. So Yo, I would have dared try to. I mean, and it's crazy because I heard them part of it, and I don't want to give that documentary away, but he's talking about when he was cussing people out and whatnot. That was during the times that I opened up for around the curse out time. I was like, damn, Dick Gregory meaner than a motherfucker. We're the ear doctor. We're gonna let the ear doctor open up for us.
You gonna do a little song?
Good dance. And
So
his
you
mic's
can't
up.
turn your
You
damn mic
talking
off.
big
Your
shit.
mic is off. Your mic is off.
Exactly. Look at that.
Oh, you did that well. You did that,
He did. Little sax mode.
Little man.
Oh man, 10. Yo, we out, y'all. Catch y'all in the morning.
Yeah, he said,
Remix.